box office top 10, which comes courtesy of ComScore movies. Whenever I need a top 10, I go to ComScore. Number 10 is The First Omen. And Matea Jedovi. Okay. I suspect I've got that wrong, Matea, but thank you very much for getting in touch. Mark and Simon, I'm a long-term listener who's never written in before. However, a comment Mark made during his recent review of The First Omen compelled me to do so.
Go ahead.
Namely, the good doctor claimed that the protagonists of the original film found Damien's mother, a jackal, not a nun, in a cemetery in Megiddo. The grave of the jackal in the original Omen was found at the Cerveteri Cemetery in Italy and not in Megiddo. While the protagonist did eventually travel to Megiddo, the only things they found there were Leo McKern and David Warner's ultimate demise. Best wishes and regards from far-off Serbia and not Megiddo. Thank you, Matea.
That is entirely correct. And actually, here's a weird thing. A couple of people got in touch with me, firstly, to say, look, if you're going to be picky about your facts, get your facts right. And you're absolutely right. Second thing is, somebody got in touch and said, look, I think you're being really unfairly harsh on this. It attempts to redo the Born of a Jackal. It attempts to work with it. And also, you should read this interview with the director who clearly knows the Omen mythology inside out. And I did. And actually, having read that and thought about it, I think I was. I mean, the one thing I'd say in my defense is I was sick as a pig the last time we were on
That's
air.
True.
I was literally had a sick bag that I was, having to stop with. But I think I was unfairly dismissive. I think I might have got that wrong. And I'm going to go back and watch the film again in the light of that. So there you go. Look, that's a rare instance of me being reasonable.
It is, and very good, and to be cherished. Matea, thank you very much indeed for getting in touch from Serbia. Number 9 in the UK, nowhere in the States at the moment, Vashan Galku Sheshem. I hope that's right.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It wasn't press screened. Indian language, period, comedy drama. If anyone's seen it, write in, let us know.
The fabulous Monkey Man is at number 8, number 9 in the States.
Again, as I said, do that on a double bill with Boy Kills World and then go and have a lie down.
Dune Part 2 at number 7.
The star of which, Zendaya, we will be talking about in one of our reviews this week in Challengers.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is at number 6, number 7. In
Fifth week in the charts. And this is why the Ghostbusters films keep getting made, because no matter how rubbish they are, and I'm not going to reassess my view of it. I think it is rubbish. The fact is that the Ghostbusters franchise has enough name recognition that you just make them and they just stick around in the top 10 because, hey, it's Ghostbusters. I honestly don't know anyone who thinks that the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire film is good. I know some Ghostbusters fans who think it's all right, but I don't know anyone who thinks it's good.
America's number 2. Number 5 in the UK is Abigail.
Okay, so this came out last week, and we were often, as I said, last week I was in the Roseland and I was up in Haworth, so I haven't seen it. It's a vampire horror satire. It's inspired by Dracula's daughter. I am going to go and see this, actually, weirdly enough, this evening, because I'm quite looking forward to it.
Sounds like your kind of thing.
It does.
Number 4 here, 3 in the States, Godzilla, Silent X, Kong, The New Empire.
And well done for getting the title right. Again, the whole issue of, okay, fine, big monsters, hitty, runny, smashy, crashy, but in the light of Godzilla -1, really? I mean, really? Could you not just have done like one of the stories and made them work?
Number 3 is Kung Fu Panda 4.
Was there ever a more depressing title? I mean, Kung Fu Panda 5, that will be a more depressing title.
A couple of emails about Civil War, which is number 2 in the UK and number 1 in the States. Rachel, first of all, I'm very glad I took your advice to see Civil War, but wow, do I need to decompress now. It's visually impressive and undoubtedly a roller coaster of emotions, but it is the sound design I particularly wanted to praise. From the ear-splitting explosions to the piercing gunshots and thumping helicopter rotor blades, the soundtrack is incredibly immersive and shocking. But then there are the quiet moments, the silences, and the use of music. It's beautifully crafted, and during those moments, the movie is truly in show, don't tell mode. The silent communication between two characters as one mops up a friend's blood, for example, or the screaming of a character caught up in the agony of grief shown without ever hearing his voice. Thank you both, and the wonderful production team, for all your witterings. Thank you, Rachel. Also, Mike. Says, Mike here, long-term listener, first-time emailer. I must admit I was somewhat taken aback, Mark, by your admittedly warm, though not, sadly, blistering praise for Alex Garland's Civil War. Whilst I feel I had been somewhat lucky to be given a heads up in advance of seeing this movie by the always excellent Wendy Ide, your colleague, of course, Mark.
Yes.
I feel the suggestion in her review that this film was first and foremost about the subjective experience of war, photographers and journalists in any war zone, not necessarily a modern-day America dystopian or otherwise, encouraged me to approach this brilliant film in just the right way. Much in the way that Jaws is not about a shark. Come on, Mike, we've already sorted that one out. The book isn't about a shark, but the film definitely is. And Steven Spielberg told Mark that, and Mark secretly obviously accepts that.
Yes.
Mike says, Civil War is not about war in America. As such, its political stance can afford to be fudged. Given where the emotional center lies, its geographic location is largely irrelevant. It is primarily and most satisfyingly about the relationship between all the characters involved, the way they react and interact to circumstances in which this has been allowed to happen, and their responses to its resolution as they seek to record and inform. As such, it is phenomenally effective. Alex Garland's use of intercut stills, many in black and white, are incredibly effective, plus the stunning music. The haunting slow-mo image of the thing, of where that happens, and Jesse Plemons doing that thing was horrifying and breathtaking. Where were we? Bergen-Belsen, Vietnam, the World Trade Center, Washington, D.C., film of 2024 so far for me, according to Mike. I mean, I think that's half right. But if America wasn't where America is, this film would be only half as scary, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it does have a real relevance to contemporary politics. I think that when, you asked Alex Garland very specifically about, you said, I think it's about the fight against fascism. And he sort of agreed. And you said that at the same time, his leading actor,
Kirsten Dunst, was nodding. Absolutely. It was almost as though they were relieved that it was said and they could agree with it.
And I do think that, particularly with, everything that's going on with, the Manga Mussolini currently, he'll be in court for the next 6 weeks. And every time he comes out of court, he just rants and raves like a lunatic. And, a substantial proportion of people think he makes sense. And I think that's a really dangerous thing. So I think Civil War, I think it does have contemporary relevance. I mean, obviously, you read it as you will, but I think it provokes debate, and I think that's what it ought to do.
Yes, the potency of the film. I mean, obviously, there's an element of truth in what Mike is saying, but the potency comes because people are genuinely scared, and they have talked about Civil War, however far-fetched it seems, that it is about America now. And that's, so
that's what I think.
To that extent, I think it is about America. Obviously, there are truths about civil wars, which are always the most horrendous of conflicts to report on. But I think you cannot take America in 2024 out of this particular movie. Anyway, number one is Back to Black. It hasn't charted in America. This from Kev Pickard in Liversedge, West Yorkshire. 4 of us ventured to our local showcase in Birstall, West Yorkshire, where the temperature was 1 degree Celsius and the snow and sleet were coming at us sideways. Now, one of my pet hates of modern TV is the obsession of coming up on today's show, where they show you everything that's about to happen in the next hour. So we were settled into our glorious comfy seats, waiting for the main attraction, and up pops an advert for Back to Black. If I know I'm going to see a film, I avoid all contact with it, including the fast forwarding of Mark's reviews on the podcast. How annoying it was that I couldn't fast forward the advert. As for the film, we all enjoyed it, but all said it was just okay and nothing special. Despite brilliant performances from Marissa Abela and as Amy and Jack O'Connell as Blake, there was something missing. I'm sure we will see a lot more of Marissa and Jack in the near future. The film ended with an explanation that Amy died of alcohol poisoning, but there should have been, says Kev in this email, and attached saying aided and abetted by the despicable British gutter press. That's what Kev says. Number one, Back to Black.
I mean, the despicable British gutter press was something that I think Asif Kapadia did attempt to address in his documentary. And I remember us having a conversation with him about the thing about, footage that's in that documentary is footage that both reflects and uses stuff that was taken at the time. And it is absolutely terrifying now, looking back on it. I still think I mean, it's interesting. This film seems to have polarized people. I have read 1-star reviews and I have read 4-star reviews. I think the film has flaws, and I think the film certainly makes some decisions that not everyone will go along with. But I think it's a kind of, as somebody who is a big fan of sort of the pop biopic genre, for all its flaws, and heaven knows it is a very, very flawed genre. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody, I really enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody, but there's so much that's wrong with it. I think I had kind of gone in with fairly low expectations, and it didn't live down to them. And I do think the central performance is really, really terrific. But I think no one's going to come out of it and think, yeah, it absolutely satisfied me. I think everyone's going to come out thinking, it didn't do this, it didn't do that, it should have done that, it should have been harder on this person, it should have been cut. That I just think that's in the nature of the beast.